You are tuned into the Quitting Corporate podcast with your host, LaToya Russell. This podcast is fueled by my experiences, the experiences of aspiring corporate dropouts, and stories of corporate quitters who built successful businesses. Society tells us it's a risk to quit secure jobs, so I'll be bringing the good vibes to you since I believe the opposite. It's a risk not to quit. If you are stuck in what you'd call a corporate mess, keep listening so you can get all the motivation you need to get out with no stress. If you already left, stick around too. There's still lots in store for you. We're on episode 28 of the Quitting Corporate podcast, and today I have Ryane LeCesne with me. Ryane is going to introduce herself for our lovely listeners. So Ryane, take the mic.
Hi, LaToya. Thank you so much. And thank you to your listeners. I am delighted and excited to be on your show. So introduce myself. Well, I am a mindset coach. I specifically work with high achieving Black women who are looking to advance their professional dreams, whether that is to scale, launch, grow, conceptualize a business, or whether that is to quantum leap within the corporate ladder. I really help people to master their mindset. And there are three specific, I know we're going to get in this today, there are three specific mindsets that I see consistently holding high achieving women back in my practice. And that is imposter syndrome. And I'm happy to, talk at length about that. But that is in general, the sense that regardless of your accomplishments, your resume, there's this sense that you haven't earned your place. You're going to be caught not knowing something. You're an imposter in your position. And perfectionism is the second. And perfectionism is oftentimes misconstrued as someone who really wants everything to be exact. Perfectionism is actually a mindset where someone is caught in this loophole of feeling like they're not enough. They are not perfect enough, essentially, to go after their dreams or to take action or to make a move. The third that I see is what I have coined as distractionism, which as a metaphor is kind of this feeling where your marbles are scattered and you just are constantly trying to pick up all those marbles and you can't quite get them all in your basket and you just are kind of pinging everywhere. So those are the three mindsets that I see. And I help women to master their mindset to, really overcome these hurdles and to advance their professional dreams. It's really exciting work.
Excellent. So as you know, what we do here, this podcast is all about inspiring our listeners to either start a side gig or get into entrepreneurship alongside of their corporate career, or inspire those who really are just ready to jump ship and never have to do corporate again. So what I want to ask, and we're going to go back to what you first did after you left school, college, whatever. Tell us about how your career transitioned or started, matter of fact, when you finished your studies.
Yeah. So I went to Spelman College. My background is in sociology. And I started out as a teacher, which I really loved. I was very passionate about it. And I used my 20s, consciously or unconsciously, really to explore a myriad different types of, work styles, work situations. So I taught at an independent school. I taught at a public school. I went into pharmaceutical sales. I went back to school to get an esthetician's license. I actually went back to school to get an event planning degree. So I did a lot of different kinds of things in my early 30s. Yeah, between my 20s and early 30s. And what I discovered was I really have a passion for supporting people. And I was looking for, the avenue to do that. And I decided to actually go back into education nonprofit. And I was loving what I was doing, but I was also, and I think this is probably what many of your listeners feel, is it feels sometimes like a plague. It's a blessing, but I was plagued with this vision of a something, and the something was getting women together, women who were my contemporaries, my network, getting them together and having conversations around personal professional development. And what I was doing within my nonprofit was I was in charge of programming. And so I was teaching leadership. So it's something I was really very passionate about. And I wanted to have these conversations with women, in sort of this brunch style. And I started doing that. And that's when Inspire was birthed in 2012. And I was doing these brunches and it was really wonderful. It was a passion project. It was fantastic. And then in 2014, I think it was, I took a class where I got my master's at Georgetown, and it was a career development class. And I took it as an alum. So I got to take this class with a coach. First time I'd ever worked with a coach. One of the things that she asked is, do you talk to yourself as if you are your own best friend? And it was one of those questions where I had two responses. One, I wanted to crawl under the table because I felt my eyes well, whoa, I do not do that. I do the opposite of that. And two, I was super intrigued because I knew there was something to this. I don't. And I bet life would be different if I did. So here enters the world of coaching for me. So in the background, I have this Inspire Sunday brunch platform that I've been nurturing for 2 or 3 years. I have a high level of frustration in my current role due to life, be very frustrated. And this intersection of really recognizing my inner conversation and this new domain of coaching kind of all came together at the same time. And so what wound up happening was I came into work I really actually came home one day and during the Christmas holiday, and I told my husband, I'm not going back. I'm not going back. I have decided that staying there is not worth what I am giving emotionally, what I'm giving energetically, and I'm going to make that leap. Now, I'm going to give a little asterisk here and say what I've learned, what happened. And I hope that this also really supports your audience. What I learned happened is what Michael Gerber is a guru, if not the guru, on small business. Please, everybody out there, look up Michael Gerber and buy his book, E-Myth Revisited. And what he says that many and most small business owners, who we call ourselves entrepreneurs, right? Small business owners, but there's a distinction here because this is the distinction. Most of us are people who have a specific technique. Like me, I developed the technique of coaching and teaching and speaking. And I decided one day in December or January of 2015, I'm going to go into this office and I'm going to have what Michael Gerber calls a entrepreneurial seizure. And I'm going to go in there and I'm going to tell these people who I'm just as smart as, which I am, that I'm leaving and I'm not coming back. Okay.
Right.
And in doing that, I now created this so-called business that I had no idea how to run. I had no idea. I didn't even know what a business was. I'm being very honest. I don't come from a business background. Right. I know how to teach very well, and I know how to coach very well, but I didn't know anything about systems. I didn't know anything about mindset. I knew nothing. And so I had this seizure and I became an entrepreneur. I became a small business owner. And that's where my, journey as a business owner really began.
Wow. All right. So how did your family and friends make you feel about the transition, and what was your husband's response?
Well, my husband's response was, and I'm very, very grateful and appreciative of his response, was absolutely, you do what you feel is necessary for you and for your vision, for your dream. And yet there was also, I think, on behalf of everybody, the sense of okay, you can do this. And how are you going to do this? And who's going to pay you? Will people pay you that kind of money? And, what does this look like? And how is this going to happen? And how are you going to find? And when, people are supportive, even in those questions, those can be supportive questions. And yet it can be a barrage of questions because the answers aren't necessarily at the ready, particularly in the beginning. But I would say people were very, very, very supportive. I have a girlfriend in particular who I also would say, two things. One, be mindful of who you share things with. I think that that's an important thing. And to also understand that the vast majority of people really don't understand leaving your 9 to 5, a consistent paycheck, to live your dreams. And they also don't understand what that requires. So what we oftentimes are asking people to do is to literally put themselves in our shoes. I have this burning desire that keeps me up at night. And I'm now asking you if you think I should do this. Like we've got to be really careful about how we position, asking for advice, because most people are going to say, I don't know about that idea. I'm not sure. That might not be a good one. It may or may not be, but be careful, be mindful. I don't want to say careful, be mindful of how you share it and who you share this with. But people were very helpful. I had a girlfriend who, at the beginning of my business, I had called Inspire Image Consulting, because I thought that was a lot of what I was going to be doing, was this sense of like, how does someone step into their power? How does someone step into, their self? It is the work that I do. But she said to me, and she has a business, her name is Christina Ricks. She's a wonderful storyteller. And she said to me, Ryane, the work that you do is much deeper. You do transformative work. And so she literally changed the name of my business from Inspire Image Consulting to Inspire Brand Consulting. And I have actually employed her to do some work for me. So, your friends and family certainly can be your greatest support. And then I have other friends who simply haven't and won't get it. And I've had to really learn that that's quite okay. That is quite okay.
Excellent. And I had a similar conversation on episode 27 about this as well. And I'd love to hear what you would tell someone whose family and friends don't get it.
Yeah, I think one, I really empathize. I think takes a lot of courage to go after your dreams, whether that's in corporate or whether that is entrepreneurial. There is something quite different in standing in your own shoes on your own, because it's your vision. It's not Coca-Cola's vision. It's not whomever, it's yours. And that takes a lot of gumption. It takes some deep soul searching, because it's you and you. It's like, in terms of a metaphor, it's like you and the practice wall with tennis. There's like no one else out there. And the competition, quite frankly, doesn't even matter, because you are your greatest competition. And so I would say that, you are your greatest competition. You're also your greatest cheerleader. And I think that's one of the things that we have to learn how to do as entrepreneurs, is really cheer ourselves on and believe in our dreams more than anybody else believes in them. And that's the thing that, all of these people who've made it, in whatever degree you want to say, to the level of success, everybody says you have to believe in yourself. And it sounds cliche, but that's the thing. That is the thing that is going to either keep someone in the game or take someone out in micro moments. It's the mindset of, I can do this. I know this is scary. People might not get it. People might not believe in me. My mom doesn't understand how someone's going to pay me this money to give my advice. That feels really like a slap in the face. That feels so hard for me to, feel like, am I enough if my own family doesn't believe in that? We've got to look at ourselves in the mirror. And this is actually a very strong technique to shift mindset thinking. So look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am an entrepreneur. This is my business. I can make this happen. I can do this my way. I believe in myself. I believe in my dreams. Because don't think for a second that Beyonce, Serena, Michelle, Oprah, anybody else isn't also having to look in the mirror and say, I can do this. I can do this. Like, let's get ourselves together. We can do this. Be your own best champion.
How quickly did you make a livable income when you started your business?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say within the first 2 years, my business brought in, that's not necessarily what I made, but in terms of cash flow, I brought in as much as I was making. Now, that is a clear distinction, because I was not netting all of that, but my business was bringing that in about 2 years.
When you say bringing that in,
that was right. And so in terms of livable, I would say it was about 3 years where I was able to say, like, okay, I'm bringing in as much as I made, and I'm actually making that as well.
And what did you do before that to make sure that you didn't have like a really bad period sustaining yourself? Or what support did you have, I should say?
Yeah, I will say one of the things that was very supportive is I do and did have a partner. I do and did have a partner. And I am forever grateful that my partner was, as supportive and as patient as he continues to be. One of the things that I think is really important is for people to consider absolutely their cash flow and to consider how much are they able to take on? The definition of entrepreneurship was read to me just the other day, and the crux of it essentially is risk tolerance, being able to, take that risk on. And what I did, now I do not advise this for anyone who, isn't with their back up against the wall. I was in a situation where I wasn't going back to work, whether I needed to find something else or whatever, like I wasn't going back. And so I don't necessarily suggest that anyone get into a situation where they decide, where they're like, I'm not coming back here, like that's your time to leave anyway. But secondly, had I been in a situation where and I was nurturing my vision over the years. So I didn't go cold turkey and not have anything to land on, Inspire was an actual thing. So I think if you're going to phase out any level of work that you have, whether that's full-time, part-time, whatever you have a business already at the ready. Do not leave trying to conceptualize a business. Have something that you have tested, have something that you are, have spent a number of hours, days, years nurturing and cultivating before you begin to assume that you're going to be able to make any kind of living and sustained living on that.
After you left, did you ever think about giving up and finding another job?
No.
Why not? This is a blunt no. Tell me more.
No. I mean, no matter how difficult, and I do mean difficult, we've had 3 moves in the last 5 years. I've had a daughter. We've had COVID. I learned this business. Now, remember, I didn't come into business knowing anything about business. I've had to teach myself everything. This has been a grappling, scrappy, figure it out, working with a coach myself, kind of figure it out situation. I cannot say that I would not go back. I would not. I do not want it. As much energy as it takes to fulfill someone else's vision and mission, I'm going to give that to myself. I'm a bet on me. And that's like, I'm just going down like that. Like I cannot, then now part-time, if I needed to make ends meet or what have you, fine. But would I go back to sign up for someone else's vision that from, dawn to dusk, I am living out? Absolutely not.
Wow. What would you tell our listeners who are holding on to situations and jobs and circumstances that they want to release, but they don't have the support with them, whether it's their partner or their best friend, or they're just scared to do it?
This is my advice more because of my personal experience than it is because of the role in the title that I have. I advise every single person who wants to even consider a business is to get themselves a coach. And I'm going to give you some very specific reasons why. One is we talked earlier about, mom, sister, best friend, not believing in what's happening. When you are starting a business, it is you and you. And that in itself is a cluster. Okay. Any human in themselves is going to be like a total warpy experience because we don't know our own blind spots. So if we're then leaning into people who don't know anything about, even if they do, they don't know about our business per se, they don't know our beliefs, they don't know our vision, and we're going to hand over to them our belief system in ourselves is a major problem. So partner with a coach so that you can get out of your own way and get the support that you need.
Excellent. Now, I want to jump into what you do now. Tell us how, if there's anyone listening that wanted to get into the area that you're in, I would love for you to dive a little deeper into what you do now, how you help people. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm a coach. And the way that I got into it was I literally went back to school to learn the fundamentals of coaching. And so I'm a classically trained coach. From there, I also have done a lot of study around intuitive energy healing and energy management. So I bring a lot of that into my practice. So Reiki, clearing chakras. So it's a very much a holistic experience. If someone was interested in coaching, I think one of the things to consider is, absolutely one is considering a coaching program. Do you have to go through a coaching program? No. But I think if someone is going to start a business and their expertise is coaching, I think it's really important to be able to hold a classic coaching conversation, which is distinctly different than any other kind of conversation. So I would say, some program, it doesn't have to be clearly the most expensive or most in person, just some type of understanding of what coaching is. And then also consider, who do you want to coach for? Who do you want to coach with? And that's very important because that's the core of your business. That's the core of who you're going to be supporting. That could be race, gender, age, interest, mindset, a specific focus, anything, but really think about what is it that you want to help someone solve or get over. And then 3, it is about the business building. Again, I cannot emphasize enough to really get Michael Gerber's book, because he's going to help you understand the 3 main mindsets of being a small business owner, which is having an entrepreneurial vision, being able to manage, and being able to do your technique. And so it's learning how to run and operate your business the way that you want it done. So I'd say those 3 things.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Now, in the topics that you love to speak about, I see a question here that I'm really keen on hearing you expand about. And this one is, why does entrepreneurship cause so much fear in high achieving women, and what to do about it? Are you open to telling our listeners how you feel about that now?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what causes so much fear in us? Well, there's so many things, but to narrow it down to a few for today's conversation. One, again, entrepreneurship is about you and your vision. It is not about how well can you sell someone else or some other structure, someone else's vision, some other widget or concept. It is all about you and your vision. And that in and of itself can be, for most people, very, 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 very scary. Now, also high achieving women have not just high expectations, but they also oftentimes because I am one of these people, we can get caught in these mindsets that I spoke about earlier, simply by the patterning of who we are and how we are socialized and the way that we see ourselves. We can get stuck in imposter syndrome, perfectionism, and distractionism. What does that mean for our business? Our businesses are only reflections of us. If I am stuck in my life, there's a good chance my business is also stuck too. So if I am stuck in the mindset of I'm an imposter and I'm not sure if I know what I'm doing, guess what? It's reflected in my business. So it's so important that we get our mindsets mastered. And when I say mastered, I don't mean that we are, operating in a way where we're machines by any matter. It is where we recognize I am stuck in my own way and I've got to get out of my way. I think as an entrepreneur, we're constantly having to do that because there is no one else to do the work for us.
Excellent. All right. This has been a great conversation. I would love for you to tap into or tell our listeners where they can find you, how they can connect with you. And if there's anything at all that you want to share with the audience, please go ahead and do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So I would love to stay connected. There are 2 ways that I mainly stay connected with people. One is through my website. I offer a discovery call for anyone and everyone who wants to connect around what their vision is or how to begin to clarify that, what might be stopping them, and how support can be helpful. And anyone can schedule that at my website, which is www.inspirebrandconsulting.com/gift, the word gift. And then you can also certainly find me on IG and on Facebook as well.
Excellent.
Yeah. One cool thing that I have is also a tool that I offer, and it's a free tool. It's a quiz, and it's a quiz to help someone determine whether the mindset of perfectionism, imposter syndrome, or distractionism is their main confidence killer. So it's a great way, just a quick kind of analysis. Think like 17 magazine kind of quiz.
And y'all can't see Ryan's face right now, but I'm going to tell you that quiz seems to be a must-have because the way the face lit up because of that quiz, right?
Oh, thank you. Thanks. It's a fun quiz. And you can find that at my website too, which is www.inspirebrandconsulting.com.
And as usual, I will make sure I have all of the direct links up in the show notes so that you can easily find Ryane. I'll definitely have that quiz link down there because that smile and everything was, that's just telling me I need to get off into the quiz.
That's great.
So Ryane, thank you so much for joining me on this episode.
Thank you. And thank you, listeners. Thank you so much. Bye, LaToya.
Bye. If you've been around for a while, you know I love tech and automations. And by now, if you feel as though it's an area you want to specialize in, you might be looking for where exactly you can get more information. So I want to invite you to head over to quittingcorporate.com/register and sign up for my free info session so that you can find out if becoming a tech and automation service provider is going to be for you.